Welcome back to Bombastic Nation and Ting and Ting and Ting. I'm Mr. Giant and I'm back with some more vibes for all you. Yes, I. And it is the season. You know what I'm gonna say? I think Christmas is coming up. So I'm gonna watch some little Christmas videos and stuff like that. And this one is called How American Christmas Was a Huge Culture Shock. I knew it was a huge culture shock for me. I do believe this is a British guy talking about the culture shock he felt for Christmas. So, yeah, understand what I mean? Let's go ahead and YouTube and simmer and see what his culture shock is like. And I'll share some of my culture shock.
Some of me does feel like a kid again. Partly this has been reinforced by Uncle Toby's Christmas choices, but I love looking at all of the houses with all of the lights, especially knowing that I didn't do any of the work. Hello, I'm Lawrence and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to Christmas. And since I'm officially taking Vlogmas by the antlers, that's a metaphor, you can expect to see plenty of videos on this topic in the next 24 days. For me, in life, it's been a tale of two Christmases, British ones and American ones. And as a kid, Christmas was everything. I loved waiting for Father Christmas to come down the chimney, except in 1988 when we forgot to put out the fire. I also loved defeating my brother at pulling a cracker, even though the prize was a miniature thimble. And how could I forget gazing into a bauble for the first time, seeing a warped version of my already warped face. This introduction to the magic of Yuletide occurred within the festive confines of my English hometown. And I thought that my experiences of Christmas were everyone's, as if every human on earth knew the simple joy of hearing the bang of a cracker or the schmaltzy melody of Chris Rea's Driving Home for Christmas. And then, after a quarter of a century, I left behind my British bubble and moved with my wife to a bigger bubble, the United States of America. It was November 2008. A cluster of indistinct specks on the ground slowly revealed themselves to be city blocks as the plane descended over a new and bountiful kingdom known as Indianapolis. This was my first visual encounter with the latest chapter of my life and a stark reminder of the one that I was leaving. The most enduring aspect of this image was that those city blocks were a distinct shade of white. And just like air conditioning, cheese curds, and Bob Costas, this level of snow was largely unheard of in Britain. Its presence on the streets of Indiana was a firm declaration that the Midwest would be dissimilar to England in every way. On that first Christmas morning in America, I did find myself looking around for the same old signs. And some of them were there. I mean, my in-laws had put up green and red tinsel, the tree was topped with a shimmering star, and people traded their dignity for Christmas jumpers. Except Americans didn't call them jumpers, they called them sweaters. And nowhere to be heard was Driving Home for Christmas. Instead, the airways played ditties I'd never heard of, like Feliz Navidad and Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. Animals, the popular dish of choice in the Midwest, isn't it?
He's so right, man, because the music is so different from home. We had the Silent Night and all those songs there, but we also had our calypso reggae and parang music and thing. And I'm telling you, man, okay, all jokes aside and thing, I haven't felt Christmas since 1985 because I came up here, I got married, and my Christmases were spent at my in-laws' house. In fact, good people, but it was so different. I remember asking my wife's niece what is she doing for Christmas, and she proceeded to tell me everything she's getting for Christmas, and I was confused. I was like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Ask you what you're doing, because on the island, that's what we ask. What are you doing for Christmas? You going to the beach to party? You're going to parang? You're going to the neighbor's house and cook? Yeah, and then eat up some food and thing. What are we doing? You know what I mean? Whereas here, you're going to your families, and it was cold. It was freezing. Every bloody Christmas is freezing. You know what I mean? And I just can't get the tropical in me. Just can't get used to a freezing Christmas. I have to admit though, the fall sort of gives me a little tinge of it because you know the trees change the colors and stuff here. But like he said, man, snow different, music different, customs different, food way different. The food is, you know, like okay, I'll give you an example. On the island, we make something called a fruit cake. Okay, now in different islands they call it a different name. In some islands they call it a Christmas cake. In other islands, they call it a black cake because it's black in color when after you cook it. Some islands call it a rum cake because you soak the fruit in rum before you bake it, or in some kind of alcohol, brandy or whatever. And there's another one they call it black cake, Christmas cake, or fruit cake is the main three. Now where I'm from, we call it the fruit cake. And I remember telling my ex-wife about, yeah man, you want to make fruit cake for Christmas? And she said, ew, nobody wants to eat the fruit cake. And I was like, what are you talking about? But then she showed me the fruit cake they have in America. Apparently the fruit cake they have here is a rock hard thing, you know, that you could knock a person out with, and that's from her perspective. Okay, I don't know how it's done in other American households here. But from her perspective, you know what I mean? And it seems like if people re-gift these rock hard fruit cakes, that's what she tell me. You know, and I try to explain to her, no, our fruit cake is moist. And there's a hint of rum or taste in it, or brandy or taste in it, you know what I mean? And listen, to buy a black cake or Christmas cake or fruit cake, what you call it, it's $62 US here. No, I bought one year, $62. Nobody's gonna spend $62 on a rock hard cake, and I knew it was going to be different. I mean, the food was totally different. You know what I mean? A lot of the stuff I wouldn't eat because I man don't eat a lot of grease. I'm not a big fan of butter. I'm not a big fan of salt, and I'm not a big fan of red meat. It's no religious reasons, nothing like that. I just don't like that stuff very much. Now I'll try it, but and boiled eggs, the deviled eggs. They have this thing that they do here called deviled eggs. Now, I don't like it for a specific reason because I remember during when we had the little scrimmage back home for like a week to 2 weeks, all I ate was boiled eggs, so I can't stand them anymore. So, on a Christmas morning, hey, try the deviled eggs. And I'm like, isn't it ironic that they're celebrating Jesus' birthday, but one of the favorite food that they eat on that day is deviled eggs? How do you explain that? Let's get back to the video. I babbled long enough, you know what I mean?
Always turkey, which is synonymous more with the US Thanksgiving. In fact, the poultry centerpiece that I've eaten most is ham, something that resembled British ham in no discernible way whatsoever. Depending on the region, this might be substituted with chicken, beef, goose, or even oysters. The dinner table is probably where the cultural Christmas divide is most abundantly brought into focus.
Yeah.
More on that in upcoming videos, but it never occurred to me that Americans did not universally include Christmas pudding or mince pies in their dessert menus. While these are not entirely absent from all holiday shopping carts, they do take a backseat to sweet potato pie, pecan pie, and coconut cake. What's coconut cake? Now that's not to say that I don't devour my American Christmas food well into Boxing Day. Some habits, no matter our age or BMI score, never change, except there's one tiny detail of this anecdote that I neglected to mention. Americans don't celebrate Boxing Day on December 26th unless their employer decrees otherwise. Most Americans...
Dude, I had to get used to that. You know what I mean? We had Boxing Day too, you know what I mean? And then Christmas Day, I gotta start preparing to go to work the very next day. I can't even recuperate from driving all this way to go see people. The Boxing Day thing, that took me off guard, boy. You know what I mean? They didn't have that.
Can swap the
Get with the program, people.
For the reality of the workplace. Even the term Boxing Day carries little currency in this portion of North America. even as America's Canadian neighbours celebrate it with abandon. And Boxing Day doesn't stand alone in the Christmas dictionary of British-American word differences. Take, for example, the name each country gives to the jolly red and white fellow who delivers all of the presents. In America, he is known invariably as Santa, Santa Claus, or Old Saint Nick, all used in Britain. However, you will rarely, if ever, catch an American saying Father Christmas. Moreover, Brits and Americans can't seem to agree on the location of Father Christmas's homeland. Soon after moving to the US, during casual Christmas Eve chatter with my in-laws, I made reference to Santa's long journey from Lapland. Not only was the name Lapland met with puzzlement, as if to say, where is that? But it was later revealed to me that he resides in the North Pole. Either way, Santa lives in a climate not fit for humans. And so, as it turns out, did I. Those white city blocks weren't an exception. The notion of a Midwestern white Christmas is not so much a naive fantasy, but a brutal reality, depending on how warmly you receive it. And warmth, as it happens, is ensured by burying yourself in multiple layers of thick.
I tell you what, though, I spent a Christmas in New York. That I had to admit, that was the one Christmas I had that Christmassy feeling. It's quite possibly because we were living in Brooklyn with my mom at the time, and my mom was Christmas for me, period. But the snow up there, Manhattan was gorgeous, Times Square was gorgeous, it was Christmas with a different twist, but it sort of kind of felt a little like Christmas, I guess. I guess it's because my mom was there, but that was a really nice looking Christmas. That one Christmas I spent in New York.
Clothing, a fashion scenario really demanded by Britain's climate. In the Midwest, I've often left the house in 2 jackets and 2 sweaters, only for the cold to enter through my undies. All that aside though, while experiencing American Christmases, some of me does feel like a kid again. Partly this has been reinforced by Uncle Toby's Christmas choices, but I love looking at all of the houses with all of the lights, especially knowing that I didn't do any of the work. And I fondly recall destroying my brother-in-law in a snow digging contest while holding a much bigger shovel. And how could I forget gazing into a bauble just this morning and seeing a warped version of my already warped face that now has a beard. Over the next few weeks, I'll be diving deep into some of the topics discussed in today's video, as well as some non-Christmassy ones. So if you're not subscribed to my channel, be sure to do that at the end of this video, and don't forget to give my bell a little jingle. That way, throughout Vlogmas, you'll get notified of a new video every day. Some are saying that these are the biggest gifts to humanity.
Okay, man. Yeah. Go ahead and check out this dude's channel. He's quite funny, actually, you know what I mean? But a lot of the experiences he had, even though he came from England, me coming from the Caribbean, Christmas is different, man. Christmas morning, you get up, a paranging and thing, you're going from house to house, eating and drinking. It's too cold to do that stuff here. And it's not part of the tradition, you know what I mean? Then in the afternoon, you go down to the beach, and everybody's got food, and you just go from person to person, drinking and eating and smoking, Man, it's different. Of course, the climate sort of contributes to the difference for me. I guess so for him too, because he was talking about the snow and seeing the snow and all of that. But just sunshine, man. I haven't seen a sunny Christmas in so many years, man. I'm dying to see a sunny Christmas. I want to be here this Christmas, but next Christmas, I'm looking for a beach, man. And speaking of Santa Claus, I remember one year, it might have been more than 1 year, they had Santa Claus wearing green and white. He had the red hat was green. His suit was green, but with white, you know what I mean? On the sleeves and stuff like that, and he came riding on a donkey. I remember that as a kid. I don't know if it's a tradition they try to put forth for us, because they figure, and the story was he came from the equator, from the center of the equator. He didn't come from the North Pole, Yeah, I guess they was trying to Africanize Christmas and thing for us, but yeah. As you can see, I put up a wreath there, which is something we don't do on the island. But you know, I got to keep it to here. I'm trying to get a little Christmassy feeling, and actually, since I have you all on here, I also did this. Let me see if I could get this. Ah, there we go. I don't know if y'all could tell the light is changing, like blinking like Christmas lights. I'm gonna put up some more stuff in here, man. I'm gonna get a Christmas feeling. I'm gonna get a Christmas feeling. Why am I talking to you? Because you're sitting there looking at me. I'm looking at him like I'm having a conversation with him. But as you could tell, check the ambience. Can you see the light changing in the background? Yeah, I'm trying to get that Christmassy feeling going and thing, you know what I mean? But listen, man, y'all start enjoying life, live moment to moment, take care of each other. Cool runnings, alright? Link in the description.